In this region, if you're looking for a cave, the locals assume you're looking for gold. As hobby cavers, we were just searching for our next cave in a region called Zwosten, which funnily translates to evil. And this time, things felt very different. The locals didn't see us as hobbyists, they saw us as a threat to their hidden treasure.
At
the time, we were just trying to find a hole in the ground. It was only later that we heard the stories of what these mountains actually hide. Tales of hidden gold, mysterious deaths, and traps, and the secret that was once key to Bulgaria's freedom. As they say, the best part about caving is you don't have to do it. Caving, or spelunking, is essentially the exploration of cave systems. It's a mix of climbing, crawling, and squeezing into spaces rarely seen by humans. Spelunking is funny because it's absurdly terrifying and dangerous, but not even considered cool or sexy. Nobody says, wow, he wriggles through caves, that's so hot. It's done purely for the love of the game. But for me, caving is much more than getting stuck in tight holes. Caves are hidden worlds and they can be massive. They have their own ecosystems, their own folklore, and as we recently found out, they can hold secrets that go way beyond geology. With my friends, I've been caving for years. As a Bulgarian, I've spent most of my time in my home region of Stranja. It's a beautiful landscape that stretches into Turkey and is home to world-famous legends like Orpheus. It also hides more than 130 caves, some open to tourists, but most very remote and locked away because of flooding, collapses, and many other safety risks. And we've been to a bunch of them, making our way through hills and mountains, bushes, wild pigs, bats, cages, and locks whenever needed. Once we even got stopped by border patrols in the middle of the forest after they mistook us for illegal migrants taking our way into Europe. We've had to crawl, walk through freezing water, dig our way through, and get as dirty as you can imagine. And honestly, it's always been worth it. We've seen incredible formations, walked through untouched nature, and found things like geodes, stalactites, and ancient bones, only taking what was already broken. We've even found writings from centuries ago, but mostly,
Здравствуйте, драги друзья!
We just had a lot of fun along the way.
Cave exploration.
I thought we'd done it all and seen almost everything, but I was very wrong. One day, with barely any plan, we decided to head to a cave much further away, tucked in the heart of Bulgaria, not far from the old town of Kotel. And this adventure pulled us straight into the secret underground world of treasures and legends, the tales of the mysterious Vulchan Voivoda, and the secrets buried in Bulgaria's past. Our process for picking a trip is simple yet effective. We used a database from the Bulgarian Federation of Speleology. They've been mapping caves since 1929, nearly a century of work. Their archives are incredible, covering thousands of caves with maps, depth, water levels, and even specific gear requirements like ropes or alpine equipment. They also often include specific coordinates, but not for the cave that my friends and I were looking for. In fact, all we had was quite a vague, old-school description, like something out of an Indiana Jones movie. The cave is located southwest of the peak Ali Baba, 949.1 meters above sea level, on the western slopes of the Chataukaya height, about 50 meters east of the river. There, the river splits into two, and to the west, above the rocky ridge, is Rakovsky Cave. Continue down the river to the north, and after about 150 meters you reach a small elongated meadow. To the east and about 50 meters up, in a small ravine with scree, is the entrance to the cave. The entrance, measuring 50 by 50 centimeters, is at the base of a small rock overlooking the west. The first ever attempt to find that cave actually happened without me. My three fellow spelunkers tried to track it down, but couldn't. Since it's a wet cave, the window to visit is quite limited. If you miss it, you're done. And being a 3-hour drive from home, it took a full year before we could try again. Winter went by, the sun started shining again, and after another semester abroad for all of us, it was finally time to come back home, and most importantly, find that cave. Now that we knew the general direction, and after the first failed attempt, we were definitely far better prepared this time. We had learned our lessons the hard way. Most importantly, we knew that deep in the mountains, online maps and GPS wouldn't be much help. If we wanted to find the entrance, we needed a different kind of source. insights from the locals. So, armed with printed maps and a bit of hope, we were ready to find locals in the nearby village and ask for directions. But this was easier said than done. Despite not seeing the local icons, we successfully made our way through the winding roads next to the Balkan mountains. After a lot of traveling, we eventually reached the closest village, where it was finally time to leave the car and ask for the directions we so urgently needed. A group of elders we saw seemed like a good way to start.
Здравейте. Един въпрос имаме. Търсим една пещера.
Сега?
Запознати ли сте с района?
Голямата пещера.
Не търсим съкровище, не сме и маняри. Искаме просто да я намерим. Ранена се казва. Има инструкции в интернет долу как да стигнем. Миналия път стигнахме до каптажа на реката.
Как се казва?
Злостен.
Злостен?
Да.
Това е прочута име, нали знаете?
И е написан тъпо и не мога да разбера дали е на 150 или на 1500 метра. Пише, като тръгнеш от каптажа на север, вървиш 150 или 1500 метра, стигаш до някаква издължена полянка и вдясно от полянката трябва да е пещерата. Така че някъде под върха Алибаба трябва да се пада.
Под върха на Алибаба, под върха на Алибаба.
Еми даря, ама ние трябва да искаме да намерим някой, дето евентуално да знае къде да може по-добре да наопъти.
Жеката трябва да обади. Той е запознат.
Ми номер може да ми дадете или да ми кажете къде живее.
Тук трябва да е. Нямаш номер на жеката. Ей, ба.
Ме ако мога да насочите къде живее, ние ще отидем, ние сме с кола.
Посреща живее тая.
Точно среща.
Къде отиште? Да не е за
Ми ще проверим, нищо не губим.
So while the people didn't know much about the cave we were searching for, they knew someone that does. Jekata was a shepherd and the cave expert who we were directed to. So as advised, we went to his house to talk with him, but he was clearly not as excited to see us as we were to see him. Convincing him to talk was an almost impossible task.
Няма.
Не, ние нищо не търсим. Нищо не търсим. То е ние да търсим нещо, все някой ще го е намерил преди нас.
Търсим камара.
Какво е това?
Камара, злато търсим, ама...
Не.
И намирали ли сте някакви...
Не.
Някъде или никъде?
Ами който търси, намира, бе.
Е, сигурно. Сигурно. Ние сме си просто пещеряци.
Пещерата в момента е затворен. Затова няма да можете да намерите. Преди 40 години, не повече. 45 години, дето почина там.
Какво били, аз четах, пробвали са да източват водата с някакъв компресор,
Не, някаква помпа.
са били отгазили.
Да.
Да, четах го това аз. Ами може ли все пак да насочите или...
Сега да ви насоча, няма да намерите. Защото то в едно такова място с насочване няма. Трябва
някой да дойде с нас, нали?
да ходя с вас.
Ние така и да ще се разкараме сигурно пак до там. Не знам, ако може нещо, което и да е да ни обясните.
Не, и да ви обясня, аз трудно намирам, вие въобще няма да намерите.
We didn't know it at the time, but the stories of treasure and death in the mountain aren't just rumors. They are all actually documented. The cave has been known to treasure hunters for a long time, but due to strong treasure hunter interest, they kept it a secret. According to some of them, there was an ancient Roman mint in the cave, and others were looking for a 120-kilogram gold statue of Vulchan Voivoda. In the autumn of 1999, a large group of treasure hunters attempted to drain the water from the siphon using a gasoline pump. As a result, 3 were gassed, one of whom died. The tales of long-lost treasures explain why most locals in the area were so secretive about this cave's whereabouts. People don't just protect their land, they protect the mysteries they believe are buried beneath it. As one local put it,
Ами някъде си го търсят. Само че там стрелят с пушки.
and these people aren't exaggerating. This region has been a magnet for wealth and conflict for thousands of years. Beneath the quiet villages and forests of the region lie layers of civilizations. The Thracians, Romans, Bulgarians, Byzantines, Ottomans, each one leaving something behind. The Thracians were here first. They were master metal workers, and for them, gold was divine. They sealed it in caves as offerings or buried it with their dead. In fact, not far from here, archaeologists found the oldest gold treasure in the world, dating from 6,500 years ago. Yeah, When the Romans arrived, they took over the same rich lands and turned the region into one of the most important gold mining areas in the Balkans, building mines and mints to process and store the tons of gold and silver extracted from the mountains. After a period under Byzantine control, the region became a strategic frontier for the First Bulgarian Empire. The old Roman road stayed busy with trade and war, while the caves, once filled with imperial gold, were repurposed as hidden armories and treasuries. By the Ottoman period, these caves became a secret weapon for the Bulgarian Haiduks. These rebels ambushed convoys and freed captives, hiding their raided gold deep in the mountains where the Ottomans couldn't reach. They used these secret reserves to fund the uprisings and buy the weapons they needed to defend their people and resist Ottoman control. Among the Haiduk leaders, none became more legendary than Vulchan Voivoda. He was a figure so mysterious that some believe the name was shared by several men over time. He commanded thousands of fighters and amassed a fortune so vast, he supposedly offered to fund the Russian war against the Ottomans, a deal only derailed by Napoleon's invasion of Russia at the same time. Vulchan's people had their own secret world, complete with coded alphabets, carved symbols, and elaborate traps meant to guard their treasures. They left nishani, signs on rocks and trees that only insiders could read. For example, a triangle might mean treasury ahead, an arrow carved upside down pointed to a hidden entrance, and a cross over a circle marked a deadly trap. This sounds like something out of an Indiana Jones movie, but everything really exists, and these centuries-old traps have been found and documented in multiple Bulgarian caves. Take this explorer for example. He goes into a cave in the region and spots an old chain on the ground. Knowing what to look for, he follows it and finds a set of spikes embedded in the cave wall. He realizes it's a weight-activated mechanism. If someone over 40 or 50 kilos steps onto the pressure plate, the chain is designed to pull them toward the spikes at high speed. To test the 300-year-old trap, he throws a heavy log onto the plate. The one-time trap actually triggers, dragging the log straight into the spikes, with force that is easily enough to kill a person. The rumors about hidden gold in these mountains weren't just regional folklore. They had reached far beyond Bulgaria. Locals told us stories of people coming from all over the country, as well as abroad, hunting for treasures, which explains why they were so cautious with us. According to an old treasure map said to have been smuggled out of a German archive after World War II, the Kotel region was part of something much bigger. It was one of 4 central hubs where ancient gold was stored, alongside Vratsa, Peštera, and Athens, forming the shape of a cup across the region. At that time, we didn't realize our destination sat right in the middle of that map. We were unknowingly heading into the heart of one of the most mythical regions in the Balkans. Thankfully, some people we talked to were far more helpful than others. As we continued asking around for directions and clues, we ended up talking to 2 old gentlemen in front of a store. At first, it was more of the same. They were understandably skeptical about what we were doing and what we were looking for. But then, just as the conversation was hitting a dead end, a man nearby overheard us and stepped in. This man was, without question, the main reason our search finally got moving. He gave us exactly the directions we needed, explaining how to continue from the point that my friends got stuck last time. He was even kind enough to give us his number as an emergency contact, and we promised to call and let him know we returned safely. Finally, we had gathered enough information to really get back into nature. Soon after we left the town, we parked beside what looks like a small canyon and set off on foot. We really didn't know what to expect, so we tried to be prepared for everything, carrying rope, printed maps, waterproof clothes, good shoes, and of course, lots of light. The hike took us through plains and forests, thick bushes and slippery creek beds. We even went past a large group of wild pigs and their babies, which can get as hostile as they are delicious.
Искам да направя един клип без да се чуват пържоли.
Guided only by our printed maps, instructions from locals and lessons learned from the past failed mission, locating the cave was no easy task. Keep in mind that we are searching for an opening of just 50 by 50 centimeters, a tiny hole that a person can barely squeeze through. After a lot of back and forth, the pieces finally started to fit. Following the instructions, we went past the creek and reached the base of the ravine, which meant the entrance of the cave has to be close. After a small climb along the rocky ravine, halfway up the slope, we seemed to be exactly where the reference picture was taken. Our confidence grew even more when we found a shovel and old water bottles right by the opening. This had to be it. The search was over. The opening was initially almost entirely buried under scree, so we grabbed the conveniently placed shovel and got to work. As we cleared enough space to crawl through, it was the moment of truth. After a year, we were finally about to enter the cave we had been seeking for so long. But the moment we looked inside, our excitement instantly died. It wasn't a cave at all. The hole was barely a meter deep, a shallow dead end. It made no sense, especially since all the instructions matched perfectly. While the boys continued digging through the pebbles, I decided to climb my way up the ravine, hoping to find something or at least have a better view. After climbing another 10-15 meters higher, I spotted a second, almost identical terrace. And on it, another opening, just like the one underneath. This actually was it! We found a real cave entrance. The whole thing felt super surreal. Was that first hole just a coincidence? Was the shovel left there on purpose as a decoy to throw people off the real cave? Regardless, we were finally there, after hours of planning, asking around and hiking. Since it was already getting late, this was only going to be a short cave checkup, before we returned better prepared and equipped another day. For now, we put on the warm clothes and turned on all of our flashlights, slowly crawling our way into the cave. One of the boys stayed out for safety at a time, following the unwritten rules of caving. Thankfully, as we moved deeper, the tight passage began to open up. While it was never more than a few meters wide, it was more than enough space to appreciate the natural beauty of these magical rooms and hallways. After a while, we reached our first major obstacle. The cave narrowed again and appeared to split in two. This felt like the right checkpoint for our first entry, so we decided to document the spot and turn back.
Доста метри вътре в пещерата. Стигаме до тези тесни дупки, които за момента няма да влизаме в тях.
Each entry took about 30 minutes, although underground it felt like an hour. It wasn't until we were leaving the cave when we noticed a small symbol carved above the entrance of the cave. And just a few minutes away down the trail, there was a burnt tree trunk, both classic treasure hunter signs. In fact, the hunters and their beliefs are just as interesting as the treasure stories themselves. It's a world where it's easy to get lost between what's real and what's fiction, but that's exactly what makes it so exciting. And while the legends sure are exciting, there's a darker reason why treasure hunting is such a massive industry here. While in some countries like France, Austria and parts of the US, up to 100% of treasure's ownership is given to its finder, in Bulgaria the state keeps all of it. Since the country is not only rich in archaeological wealth, but also struggles with corruption, most findings stay hidden on the black market, or are even sold off by the officials themselves. This has turned treasure hunting into a massive underground business. Treasure hunting and illegal trafficking of antiques have been rampant in Bulgaria after the collapse of the communism regime in 1989. Estimates vary, but some consider this the second most profitable activity for the Bulgarian mafia after drug trafficking. One recent estimate suggests its annual turnover amounts to 500 million leva, approximately 260 million euro, and estimates of the number of those involved range from 5,000 to 200,000-300,000, the vast majority of whom are low-level impoverished diggers. These low-level impoverished diggers are the majority of people, mostly uneducated men from small forgotten villages, exactly like the people whose stories I heard during my research. And while they talk about kilograms of found treasures, most of them live on the edge of poverty, working odd jobs just to survive while chasing the dream. Take someone like Shaho the Baron, for example.
Той е иманяр, грубар, елтехник, кучкар и какво ли още не едновременно.
But there is a strange beauty in these tales of treasures in the small villages. We saw firsthand how stories of lost gold keep small villages alive. They give everyone something to be a part of, a reason to be proud, a mystery to discuss, or a secret to gatekeep. And it's still a big part of the local culture as well, merging history and folklore. Going back to the origin of the treasure in the region, most of it is considered blood money, wealth tied to violence, betrayal, or sacrifice, which demands repayment.
Тъй като парите са, хайдушките пари са взимани с много кръв. Лята е кръв, трябва да направиш курбан.
But these warnings don't stop the treasure hunters. They just add to the lore. To bypass the danger, they rely on strict rituals. Before starting, many demand absolute silence, believing that a single word will cause the treasure to sink and vanish forever. Others bring amulets, consult a psyche, or use special prayers to navigate the site safely. The most critical ritual for avoiding the curse is through sacrifice, which serves as a symbolic payment to the land. In some cases, treasure hunters spread flour or ash over a site overnight to see what footprints appear, using the marks to determine what the treasure demands as payment.
Някой път иска кокошка, някой път иска агне, някой път иска било, обаче някой път иска човек. Така че, като дойде до там...
Even after a successful find, many try to cleanse the wealth by building churches or cheshma, though the lore says true escape requires giving it all up. The supernatural beliefs don't stop with curses, and also provide an explanation to the burnt tree we found near the cave. Local lore suggests gold was buried under its roots, turning the tree into a natural lightning rod, giving a permanent clue for hunters alongside the man-made symbols. This wasn't the last time we saw all of that. As promised, we returned a year later, this time better prepared and with a larger group. We went far deeper into the cave, but even with the extra effort, the gold remained a myth. Regardless of whether the legends and curses are real, the nature in these mountains is incredible, and every trip into the heart of the Balkans is worth it for the view alone. And hey, maybe the real treasure was the friends along the way.